Uh, to Sri Manoj Pandey, Joint Secretary MCA, to Sri Rajneesh Gupta of the L&T Infotech, to the Vice Chairperson of the CLCGC, CA Preeti Savla. Here's a very hearty good afternoon. On behalf of the Corporate Laws and the Corporate Governance Committee of ICAI, I take great pleasure in extending a very warm and a very hearty invitation to all of you to this webinar, where we're going to discuss about the 56 forms which have been launched in relation to company filing by MCA yesterday. And these forms have gone live on version 3 of the portal. As you're well aware, LLPs have actually already gone live on version 3 of the portal. There were 9 company forms that went live sometime in August. This is the next phase of the version 3 launch, and 56 forms, including the company incorporation forms, are proposed to be launched. And in this context, it is not an easy migration because this is like repairing a running aircraft. So in that sense, ICAI is very committed to supporting MCA and LTI on this project. We will, as usual, be setting up a Google link where you can report your issues. When you do so, please report along with the ticket number so that we can help with the resolution by sitting along with the L&T team. We hope this launch will be a smooth one. So thank you once again for being part of this webinar. Now I'd like to invite Sri Manoj Pandey to speak a few words.
Good afternoon.
So would you like to come on video, sir?
Yeah. Good afternoon, Madam Savla, and good afternoon, Sri Priya. So it's really hello. Yeah.
So if voice has gone, Pandeyji. We are not able to hear.
No, sorry. Sorry.
So you can also adjust your camera.
Yes,
your
sir.
camera also you can adjust a little bit, sir.
So
we are seeing only part of you.
So with the support of ICAI, in fact, now we are launching another set of 56 forms on version 3. Earlier, we had launched 20 forms of LLP and 9 forms of companies. 56 forms have been launched last night, and so far, filings are happening with respect to many forms, and we have the numbers also. Main form would be incorporation, where name approval forms have been filed. Maybe some of the forms are at the intermediate stage of incorporation, like SPICE Part B. And initial days could be maybe 1 or 2 days. You may have some issues here and there because version 3 basically is a new version, is an advanced version from V2, where basically we have added some additional features of identity also, and additional maybe validations. So one important thing in SPICE Part B would be that directors would be required to become business user. Business user means they have to just associate their DSC after logging in and also identifying themselves, and then only they can sign the form. That's one thing which would be required. So and it's a process is not very difficult. Just become a business user. And how will you become a business user if you are a prospective director? Means you are not a director in a company, but you are going to become a director in a company. That would be explained by LTI, Larsen Toubro Infotech, our technical partner. But I believe you would be associating with PAN, and you would be identifying yourself as authorized representative, because some identity needs to be captured. And thereafter, you can associate your DSC later on. So the process of registration as a business user and also associating DSC would become important. Thereafter, you can become, then you can sign the form and can go ahead. It's a change only to bring in correct identification of the person. So rest of the forms, I think they are getting filed, so users are more or less clear that what are these forms. There could be some issues, reading issues, which should be taken care of by help desk team. Majorly, I think in corporation, there will be some maybe some teething issues and where you would require some support. So that is why I have requested on the first day itself, the LTI team, technical team, as well as the head of the team to address so that you are aware. And I request the technical team of LTI to go slow, explain each and everything, particularly on incorporation forms, because the rest of the forms I have seen, they are getting filed. So I think users are more or less aware that there is no difficulty, including Pass 3 is getting filed. I could see Pass 3 is fairly complicated form, but it's getting filed. I was not expecting Pass 6 to be filed, but Pass 6 has also been filed. It's very good. So those forms, I think users were waiting. And MGT 14, GNL 2 have also been filed in good number. So those forms, I think users are not facing much difficulty. Maybe there would be some difficulty. I'm not denying that. Maybe initial teething issues everybody would be facing. DIR 12 is also getting filed in good number, because I'm just looking at my screen and finding out the numbers against different forms. SH 7 has been filed in good number, even Pass 3, Pass 6, RD1, MGT 14, as I said, INC 28, then INC 28, GNL 2, and DIR 12, around 150 DIR 12 have also been filed. DIR 3 has been filed. DIR 5 has been filed. DIR 6 has been filed. And we have reached a number of around on these particular forms around 600 so far. So it's okay. It may be not a very big number, but that means the forms are getting filed on our system. And with your support, with the support of ICI, in fact, there was a lot of hand-holding of MCA team as well as LTI team. Forms were tested in maybe and the production, they work differently when you are testing in UAT and when you are testing on a staging environment, because the real-time data validations keep on happening, and there could be some challenges. So, but I'll request all chartered accountant friends to be patient, and forms are getting filed. They're getting approved also in STP mode. Maybe 1 or 2 days, the process would become quite smooth, and LTI people would be explaining everything to you. So over to Sarika.
Thank you.
Please take it forward.
Thank you. And could I please request CA Preeti Savla to speak a few words before we hand over to LTI?
Other things.
Sure.
You can.
Thank you, our chairperson, and for giving me this opportunity. And we have Joint Secretary, Mr. Manoj Pandey, with us. So thank you, Manojji and Ministry of Corporate Affairs, for putting faith in us and giving an opportunity to us so that the implementation of this new form are getting in the smooth manner. And we will ensure that the members are getting the benefits and smoothly filing, and whatever issues are being there, we get resolve all these things, and whatever support required from our side will always be there. And my dear, all the members, please feel free and give your issues in such, understand, attend such kind of seminars, understand, and any support required for any issues, feel free to connect the CLCGC for that matter. Thank you very much, and we can proceed with the other proceedings.
Thank you very much, Preeti ji. And just as an extension of what Preeti ji had mentioned, so we've had a team which the President ICI has been kind enough to approve. So we've had a team that's been working closely with both the MCA and LTI to test these forms in a UAT environment. So I'd like the users to proceed with some confidence. A lot of work has happened in the testing, and there has been a lot of debugging on various scenarios. So just our kind request is proceed with confidence. In some freak cases, you could have challenges, and 600 numbers of forms getting filed is very encouraging, which means the process is working. Of course, individual users could have concerns. And for that, please go back to this Google form that the secretary of the committee has also been working very hard. And thank you, Sarika. We put out a Google form by now. We request you to fill one Google form per issue, meaning per form. So if you have a problem, let's say with a certain form, that form number you please indicate to the Google form. What is the nature of this issue? And please remember to raise a ticket with MCA and give us that issue number, so that when we go back and try to understand what the problem is when we are working with LTI, it'll be easier for us to refer to that ticket number and reach out to you. So thank you once again very much, and it's over to Rajneesh ji now. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Thank you, Joint Secretary MCA. Thank you to Director MCA. And thank you, Madam Savla, for taking this initiative. Thank you, Sarika ji. You have been a stone behind LTI in terms of making sure that we have a capability to directly interact with the users from the CA Institute and help users navigate through this area of transformation of such a large system. So I'm very, very happy and excited that, today, or actually today morning hours, we have gone live with the new forms, we have kind of created those forms based on their purposes. And these are forms which will allow you to incorporate a new company in the new MCA 21V3 system. And there are associated forms, which will be discussed at length by my colleague Vijaya on this call. I can't thank the professionals enough, for providing support to us, coming together in this very, very large transformation initiative of Government of India, where we are working towards a common goal of making Prime Minister's mantra of ease of doing business in the country become a reality. So this MCA 21V3 system, as you will notice, will kind of change the way, the filings have happened in the past. Most of the information will get pre-filled. The validations will make sure that, the professionals are not making any wrong entries or mistakes. So the whole endeavor is to make the forms and the filing and usage of the system fault-free and foolproof in a way that, you don't have many rejections or resubmission of forms. I will hand over the session to my colleague Vijaya, who will run you through the forms which are going live, take up some specific examples of the key forms. And of course, we can only kind of move forward with patience and restraint, because any new system initially will give some teething issues. And as Joint Secretary Sir has mentioned, this whole endeavor is to make the system filing and experience of users being enriched from the new system is something that we are trying to look for. And we will make sure that, as we move forward, the usage patterns and the filing will become much, much smoother, and the professionals will find a lot of their core issues or concerns which they had with the V2 system going out, and, the usage of the system will become easier. So I now request Vijaya, if you could run over and, explain the rationale and the way we have kind of segregated these forms what are the do's and don'ts if there are any, and the differences in the form filing between the current system and the previous system. So the other most important aspect of V3 system is that all the forms are now interactive web forms, where whatever data you would be filling in the system, you will be able to get a real-time validation or information from the system itself. So you don't have to do any offline form generation, then kind of wait for the system to provide you validation reports on where all the mistakes, etc., have been made. So here, the first time when you fill a form, the system itself will be providing an interactive interface where you will come to know if there are certain mistakes in the form and if something needs to be changed. Many of the form fields are pre-filled, so there are no chances of going wrong. There are validations and checks put in important data areas so that, one cannot even by chance make mistakes. So if there are calculations, if there are some data elements which have to be generated from the system, those will be generated from the system, and that will make sure that there are no chances of anybody potentially making a mistake. So thank you, everyone. I hope that this session and our endeavor of creating a next generation solution continues to go on with this manner, and we are there to provide support. So we will continue to look forward to getting all kind of feedback from the professionals on this call. And from a LTI perspective, let me assure you that we are there for making sure that this system, the experience of the users is very good. So that we will continue to monitor and provide a support which will help us navigate through the initial period of struggle. And whatever are other observations or suggestions, also we will look at those suggestions in terms of easing the form filing process. So thank you, Madam Sarika. And I will request my colleague Vijaya to take over now.
Thank you, Rajneesh.
Vijaya.
Thank you, Rajneesh. I hope, Sarika ma'am, can you hear me?
Yeah, Vijaya, you are audible.
Yeah, Vijaya, we can hear you. Very good afternoon, everyone. So this is Vijaya. Let us start the presentation. So as we all know, we have actually gone live with 56 forms yesterday night. So these forms are covering around 10 forms of incorporation forms. We will discuss in detail about what all are list of those 10 forms. And apart from these 10 incorporation forms, we have included 46 other forms which are mostly relating to your conversion forms, or which updates your company master, or there are some forms which are relating to director forms. So I will show you what all forms we have included in these 56 forms and what is the rationale. So basically, as we all know, we already went live with 9 forms in the month of August, that is on 31st August 2022, with 9 forms covering charge module, charge management, and deposit module, and DIRP KYC. So now this is a second set of forms. So the rationale for set 1 forms was to minimize the reverse sync or the data migration, where there is no too much of dependency on a company master, especially or SIN number or address master, or whatever the other fields like class, company, category, and all. But now the set of 56 forms we have picked up is mostly on incorporation set. So which updates, so basically which creates your incorporation, or which updates your master later on, or which changes. So basically, if director master is there, so whatever the forms which updates your director master, be it as DIN master association or your association with companies, all sort of forms we have included in set 2 forms. If you look at my screen, so set 2 forms, the first set is basically, as I mentioned, there are 10 incorporation forms we have included. So which are covering as Spice Plus Part A, RAN, Spice Plus Part B, Agile Pro S, and EMOA, INC 34 and 31, and EAOS, EMOS, INC 13 and INC 33, INC 9 and URC 1. So as you can see, point number 6 and 7. So all these forms are already there in V2, and these forms are web forms already in V2 system. So one enhancement in terms of number of forms in V3 system is we have introduced INC 13 and 31 also as a linked filing, which are basically applicable for Section 8 companies. So currently in V2 system, if you are incorporating a company, a Section 8 company, then you have to attach your EMOA, AOA mandatory to Spice Plus Part B, because linked filing is not available in V2 system. So now going forward in V3, INC 13 and 31 will be filed as a linked filing if your company is Section 8 company. So this is one of the enhancement in terms of the number of forms. So that is why instead of 8 incorporation forms, we'll be having 10 incorporation forms in V3. So other set of 46 forms, as you can see here, we have covered all director forms, all conversion related forms, so which we will be taking you through some critical forms. We will explain you what are all the enhancements that we have made, what are all the changes, what actually changed when compared with V2. So you can see these are all the list of 46 forms which we have included, mostly covering all director forms, all conversion related forms, like INC 12, 18, 20, 22, 27, 28. So all conversion forms. And MGT 14 form also we've included in this set, because MGT 14 is the most frequently filed form, and this form is a prerequisite to file any other conversion forms. This SRN is a most, you have to give this reference of MGT 14 SRN in many other forms, which are actually covered in this set of 56 forms. So that is why we have included MGT 14 form also in set 2. So along with this conversion forms, we have included MR2, MR1 and MR2 also in all NITI forms, all buyback related forms we have included. And you can see there are 3 forms which got added newly in V3 system, that is Pass 2, DIR 9 and DIR 10. So currently Pass 2 information memorandum in V2 system, this is getting filed as an attachment to GNL2. So basically if you open GNL2 in V2 layer, we have a purpose called information memorandum. You have to select that purpose and you have to file it as an attachment in V2 system. So now this form has been converted into a separate E form, so which is Pass 2 form, so which is not there in V2. So this is also one of the enhancement in terms of number of forms. And DIR 9 and 10. So currently these forms also getting filed as an attachment to GNL form, because these are not actually are not there as a separate E form in V2 system. So DIR 9 is for disqualification of directors and 10 is for removal of disqualification. These 2 forms also are, deployed as a independent e-filings, and stakeholders can go ahead and file these forms also in V3 system. And apart from these forms, we have also moved all foreign company related forms, that is 1, 2, FC 1, 2, 3, 4. And GNL2 form also we have moved, because there's a dependency on GNL2 also in many of these 56 forms, especially in terms of conversion forms with the allotment related forms. And we've also moved MSC forms, all MSC forms, MSC 1, 3, 4, and last form is RD1, which is again related to your company master auto name rejection and all. So this is the rationale for grouping of these forms and the list of forms that are covered in set 2, that is 56 forms which were launched in the last night. So let us talk about the key enhancements which you get to see in all these 56 forms. So the first point is introduction of web forms, thereby reducing manual efforts. So professionals who are actually interacting with the V3 portal for filing LLP forms or first set of company forms, 9 forms, they must be well aware that all the forms, e-forms in V3 system are web-based forms. There is no concept of downloading PDF and filling your details manually and uploading it on all. So basically all the forms in V3 are converted into web-based forms, wherein you can reduce the manual efforts. You can save the form in between. You have an option to edit. So you have so many other options to interact with the form in V3 system, which is currently not available in V2. And the second enhancement is basically the linkage of form. This is for the purpose of filing an option selected. So basically in V2 system, if you compare, Linked forms are already hardly are available, especially in case of, suppose if I take EMOA and EAOA, these two forms are getting filed as a linked filing only with Spice Plus Part B in V2 system. So which means after incorporating your company, if you want to alter your memorandum, alter your articles, you have to file it as an attachment in V2 system in whatever maybe the forms, for example, SH7 or INC 20 or INC 27. So in all these cases, you must be attaching MOA, AOA as an attachment in the form, because there is no concept of linked filing available. But in V3 system, so this is also one of the biggest enhancements that we have made. Going forward, EMOA, EAOA, you will get to see these two forms as a linked filing form in many other places. So I'll just give you some examples. You can see here, INC 12, if you take, this is basically for grant of license to existing company. So if any existing company wants to get converted into a Section 8 company, so we have to file INC 12, right? So currently, INC 12 MOA, so obviously whenever you're changing your company, existing company into a Section 8 company, so you have to file you have to alter your memorandum and articles. And accordingly, you have to file MOA, AOA as an attachment in V2 system. So now going forward in V3, so INC 13 and 31, as we discussed, so these are the two new EMOA, AOA forms introduced, especially for Section 8 companies. So whenever you're filing INC 12, it is a mandatory requirement for you to file INC 13 and 31 as a linked filing, the way you are doing it in Spice Plus Part B. So once you file your parent form of INC 12, system will mandate you to file INC 13 and then followed by 31. So this is one of the example like this. We have introduced this EMOA, AOA as a linked filing in multiple forms like INC 18, 20, INC 27, 6, MGT 14, and SH7. So these are all some of the examples wherein you get to see EMOA, EAOA as a linked filing in V3 system, which is currently not available in V2.
Vijaya, just want to add a point out here. The stakeholders may ask that why we have provided for the link filing of MOA and AOA in these forms also. So what happens is that there are multiple filings. If I decide to take a license, I have to go ahead, file MGT 14. There also I'm required to attach my MOA and AOA. Similarly, then I have after filing of that MGT 14, then again I have to file INC 12. So what happens is then again I'm attaching the MOA and AOA. So that is to reduce the burden on the stakeholders to do the filings of similar attachments again and again. So that is the reason behind we have provided that at one point of time, either at MGT 14 level or at the level of the main parent form, we will have this link filing so that the stakeholders don't have to go the rigorous the way of attaching the documents again and again.
Yeah. So the next point is basically auto pre-filling of common fields across the forms, ensuring data consistency and effort reduction. This is also one of the enhancements where suppose you fill in some data in one form and similar data you have to fill in other forms. So to the extent possible to reduce the manual efforts and ensure that consistency of the data is maintained in the database, we are pre-filling the data in the subsequent forms. For example, if whenever you're filing for buyback, you have to file SH8 and after that you have to file SH9 for declaration of solvency. In SH9, most of the fields would come from your SH8. So what we are doing is whenever SH9 is getting filed, we will be auto pre-filling everything from SH8 so that it will reduce the effort of the stakeholders and also ensure that there is no consistency between SH8 and SH9. And next enhancement is basically form fields optimization by removal of duplicate or redundant fields. So wherever possible, so if the field is actually redundant or it is already referred in some other form which has dependency on this form, so we have removed all such fields or we have modified the fields to the extent possible. So that is the reason why you get to see many changes in terms of number of fields that are available in all these 56 forms. And then minimization of attachment by introducing fields or declaration. This is one of the most important enhancement that we have made. So you get to see a lot of attachments which are currently there in V2 got converted into either in the form of declaration or in the form of mission readable format in the form layout itself. So that is the reason why there is a large reduction in the number of attachments when you compare it with V2 forms. So be it in terms of basically, for example, wherever we are attaching member details or the creditor details, we have converted those details into a mission readable format only, because the problem with attachment is basically all these attachments are unstructured format. So we will not be able to use this for further analysis unless the attachment is in structured format. And moreover, whatever the remaining attachments that are available in V3 system, wherever we can structurize this attachment. Suppose if there is one attachment which suppose deposited details, people must have seen it in a DPT3 form. So we have already defined a structured format so that users can provide the details in that format only, so that in future, if we need to do analysis or for any reporting purposes, we can use that structured data. So next is addition of field level validations, thereby minimizing errors at the time of filing. So this is also one of the enhancements that you get to see in V3 forms. In V2 systems, so most of the validations, especially the server-side validations, or where you have to validate whether the data is actually matching with database or not, happens once you click on pre-scrutiny, right? So in V2. But now in V3 system, there is no concept of pre-scrutiny. So an entire form is bifurcated into different blocks, and validations would happen at each such page itself. There is no need to wait till the end of the form. For example, MGT14 is the SRN where we refer in most of the forms, right? So in V2 system, what happens is once you enter MGT14 SRN, unless you click on pre-scrutiny, once you fill in everything after check form, then only you will get an error saying that so-and-so SRN is not a valid or it is not associated with your company. But these kind of messages you will get in V3 system the moment you punch in the data on the screen itself, on the web form itself. There is no need to click on submit button, or there's no need to wait till the end of the filing. So this would actually obviously reduce the efforts of the stakeholders. And then the last enhancement, you can see maximum size of individual attachments increased to 2 MB. So currently in V2 system, so we have the limit of 6 MB, so including all attachments, and there's no limit on the attachment also. So it is the overall 6 MB is what we have in V2 system. So now that overall size has been increased to 10 MB, and each individual attachment size is increased to 2 MB. So before going into the enhancement of all these 56 forms, so we will just try to highlight the critical points in terms of user registration, though most of the professionals must be already aware of it, but we'll just highlight what are all the critical points to be noted before going ahead and proceeding to file these 56 forms. So now in V3 system, so all the forms, so basically if you see the MCA portal in V2 system, so if anybody wants to download any form, they can go to company forms download and they can download the form in the form of PDF and they can see. But in V3 system, so if you want to view the forms, you have to have your login ID. And most of the forms are basically accessible only to the business user, except incorporation forms or some other exceptional forms. But otherwise, 90% of your forms which are there on MCA portal will be accessible only if you have a business user role. So when we say business user, so we have two types of roles on MCA portal, even in V2 also. One is registered user and next one is business user. In V2 system, so all the forms, any form can be, you can upload any of the form by using your registered user login ID. There is no restriction. But in V3 system, so you have to, if you want to upload any form, you need to have a role of business user except for incorporation. So which means you need to have either role of direct. So we will talk about. I'll just show you what all type of business roles we have, business user roles we have in the system. But if you want to upload any form or if you want to file any form, you have to have your business user login ID. And the main shift from V2 to V3 is basically now in V3 system. So your user ID will nothing but your email ID, whatever you have given at the time of registration. In case of any business rules other than director or designated partner, in case of director and designated partner, your user ID will be nothing but your email ID which you had provided at the time of your DIN allotment or whenever you're updating your details through KYC form, DIR3 KYC or through DIR6. So which means going forward, your email ID will nothing but your user ID in B3 system. And for almost all the business user roles, except for company or LLP user. So in case of company or LLP user role, your user ID is nothing but your SIN number or LLP or FCRN. So suppose, for example, if I create my one user role with a company user or LLP user, so you have to provide your SIN number, LLP or FCRN. So that number is nothing but your user ID in V3 system. And this is point number 1. And point number 2 is basically, suppose let's say I have a director role in my system as a business role. So I'll just show you the type of roles that we have. So you can see here, registered user is nothing but any individual who wants to get registered on MCA portal, they can go and register. Here, PAN is also not a prerequisite. You can register yourself just by providing your email ID and your personal details. And PAN is also not mandatory. You can, if you want to give your PAN, then we will validate with CBDT. Otherwise, system will register yourself as a registered user. And apart from this, all other roles, whatever we have in the system are called business users. So that is the company or LLP user. I just mentioned that whenever you want to create a company or LLP user, you have to provide your respective company or LLP user details. And one of the director director or designated partner who is associated with that company have to authenticate that registration. And then your user ID will get created with your SIN number or LLP number or FCRN. And so what is the use of that company or LLP user? So this, if you have a company or LLP user, you will be able to file all the forms which are associated with that company only. So which means all filings are role specific also. So if you have a company user role, you will not be fine. I have created my user role saying that my SIN is company A, for example. You will be able to file the form only with that particular company A. You will not be able to file for any other company. So this is the restriction or the constraint that we have in company or business user role. And then director or designated partner role. So in this case, you have to the prerequisite to have your DIN number. The person who is having a DIN number, they can get them registered on MCA portal as a director or designated partner role. So here PAN is not actually mandatory because you can obtain your DIN without PAN also. If you have a passport, you can apply for DIN, right? So that is why here the prerequisite is your DIN number. If you have a DIN number and if you want to file the forms for any other company or if you want to affix your DSC in any form, it is mandatory for you to get yourself registered as director or designated partner role. And here the important point to note is basically, if you have a director or designated partner role, you will be able to file the forms only which are associated with that particular DIN. Suppose if I have a DIN and I'm currently associated with 5 different companies, I will be able to upload the forms only for those 5 companies only. I will not be able to upload a form, or I will not be able to file the form on MCA portal for a company which is not actually associated with that particular DIN number. And then professional user. So professional user, so that is the reason why, just to highlight one more point, director or designated partner. So whenever you're downloading a form and you logged in with your director or designated partner role, so by default, you will get a list of SINs. Suppose if you want to, in my example, I've mentioned 5, I'm associated with 5 different companies. The moment I log in with my role and try to file, say, for example, MGT14, and the first field is basically you will get a SIN number, right? So in the SIN number field, you will get a drop down of companies in which you are associated, which means you're not required to remember your SIN number or punch in your SIN number manually. So system will automatically display all the SINs which are currently associated with that particular director or designated partner, so that you can choose the SIN number from a drop down, and all other details of company master like name, address, email ID, everything would get pre-filled. So the next one is professional user. The professional user can basically can file any form because obviously professional will not get associated with companies, right? So the professionals are basically chartered accountants, company secretaries, and cost accountants. So they can here the prerequisite to have your membership number and also your PAN number. These both the things are mandatory for you to get yourself registered as a professional user. And professional user can file any company related form. There is no restriction on the way we have in director or designated partner role or company role, where only some set of companies where you will be able to file. but professional can file any company related form or any LLP related form. And now manager or secretary or authorized representative role. So this is again the person who is not actually having the role of director, because as I mentioned, for director or designated partner role, DIN is a prerequisite, right? So I may not have DIN number, or I may associated with other KMP roles like CEO, CFO, manager, secretary, where DIN is not a prerequisite as per the law. Or I am coming for the first time onto the portal. I just applied for my DIN. I'm waiting for my DIN, which will get allocated only after approval of Spice Plus Part B. In all those cases, so basically in all the miscellaneous cases where you do not have your DIN number, you can get yourself registered as manager, secretary, or authorized representative by providing your PAN number. Here it is a prerequisite requisite is to have your PAN number. If you have a PAN number, so you can go ahead and get yourself registered as a manager, secretary, authorized representative. And here there are 2 points to highlight. Even if you have manager, secretary, authorized representative role, so you will be able to sign the forms only for those companies in which you are currently associated or authorized by that company related director or designated partner. Here also again, the filing will come into a picture, which is basically role specific or association specific. You will not be able to file all the forms the way professional user can do. And one more point, so especially this is important for incorporation. So whenever you're filing Spice Plus Part B and you're trying to apply for your DIN number where you will not have your DIN number with you, and you have to affix your DSC, say for example in INC 9 or EMOA or EAOA or in Spice Plus Part B itself. So then the option that is available for the stakeholders is to create their business user role with authorized representative role by providing their PAN number. And once they get the DIN number, they can upgrade their role to director or designated partner. And the rest of the roles are basically nodal officer and deputy nodal officer. These roles are still there in V2 only because these are specifically relating to IPF. And one more last role that we have added is basically professional staff member. So which means suppose a professional is actually having his own practice, his or own practice, and say there are 5 or 6 team members are working, they can create their own login by providing, but they have to give a reference of their professional membership number so that we can trace out. So if professional staff member tries to upload a form, and we will get to know like who has actually on behalf of which professional this professional staff member is trying to upload the forms. These are all the different types of users that we have and the usage of these roles in V3 system. So now we'll quickly move on to enhancements that we have done in all these 56 forms. We'll try to cover all 10 incorporation forms first, and then we will talk about critical forms of remaining 46 forms. So let us start with the Spice Plus Part A or run. Both the forms will have same kind of changes. So suppose Spice Plus Part A. So in terms of web form or e-form, so in V2 also this form is web form only, right? So there's no change in terms of fields that are there in V3 system when compared to V2. So only one enhancement that we have made in Spice Plus Part A is basically introduction of NIC 2008 codes instead of NIC 2004. In V2 system, we are managing the company incorporations only with NIC 2004 codes. That too, we will ask the stakeholder to enter only the main division, which is basically the first 2 digits of their industrial activity code. So based on those 2 digits, and back office user will have to append the remaining 3 digits based on their objects and all. So there's so much of manual intervention involved in that activity. So now in V3 system, so going forward, stakeholders have the option to choose their 5-digit code on their own, and they can choose up to a maximum of 3 digits of the 3 different codes, of which they can choose one of their NIC code as their primary code. So and you have to follow NIC 2008 codes going forward in V3 system. And apart from this, in Spice Plus Part A, so you get to see a lot of error messages or informational messages. We have enhanced the complete name rules validations. We have added we have automated to the extent possible all the name rules, and we have also added trademark validations, which are not actually happening in V2. If you want to check whether your name is actually impacting your trademark, so then you have to go and search separately. There's a web service available for trademark verifications. You have to go there and you have to search. Now going forward in V3, all trademark related validations also you get to see on the screen itself. There's no need to access that service again. Again and again. So everything will happen at one go only in Spice Plus Part A itself. So this is about Part A. And let us move on to Spice Part B. So this is again in terms of web-based form. So there is no change in V2 also, since it is a web-based form. There is no change in terms of the way form is structured or the way form is getting filed in V2 and V3. But there are some enhancements. So let us talk about those enhancements. I will also show you one Spice Part B form. I'll open it and I'll show to you once this discussion is done for enhancement. So introduction of EMOA and EAOA for Section 8 companies, as I discussed earlier. We have introduced INC 13 and 31, which are specifically applicable for Section 8 companies, as a linked filing to Spice Part B, which are currently getting filed as an attachment in V2. And now INC 3 merged with Spice Part B. So INC 3 is again consent of nominee. So in V2 system, what you have to do is you have to download this INC 3 layout from the portal and you have to sign it manually. And then you have to attach it to Spice Part B. So which is basically now we have removed this concept of attachment. Now in V3 system, so I'll just open the layout of Spice Part B also for your understanding purpose. You can see here, this section, there is no change in the particulars of nominee section. This is exactly same as whatever is there in V2. But if you see here, there is one section which got added at the end of this after attaching your proof of identity and address. So you can see here, consent along with declaration by nominee. This is nothing but INC 3 layout, which we have converted into e-form. And user have to, and one more enhancement is basically your nominee has to digitally sign this form. So whenever you are incorporating your company as OPC company, so nominee also has to associate his DSC by providing their PAN number or DIN number. If the nominee has a DIN number, and if he wants to associate his role with director or designated partner, he can do that. Otherwise, he can associate his DSC with the role of authorized representative, and then he can associate his DSC and sign the form. So this is one of the enhancements. So currently it is in V2 system, this is getting filed as an attachment. Now we have converted into e-form. Within the e-form itself, you get to see this section along with DSC box. So the next enhancement is bifurcation of capital into different classes in almost all the forms. Wherever you get to see capital related information which is getting captured, Beta Spice Part B, SH 7, Pass 3, SH 8, 9, INC 28, wherever you get to see the capital related information. Now capital is bifurcated into users have to provide capital into different classes. Suppose if you have only one class, you have to give a class as 1 and you have to give the details. In V2 system, and if you look at the Spice Part B, we are only capturing capital at the company level only. That too in the only with specific to equity, share capital, or preference share capital. We are not asking them to give the class-wise information except in MDT 7 or 7A. So to ensure that we have a consistent data across the forms, we have introduced this concept of class-wise information in all the forms wherever capital is referred. So that is the reason why you can see here, you have to give the number of classes and you have to give a name to the class, and then you have to provide the data. Depending on your number of classes, these blocks would get regenerated in the form. And a box to be displayed adjacent to the data entry. So this is also one of the common enhancement which we have made across the forms. So currently in V2 system, if you want to attach any document to the form, all the attachment details you get to see only at the end of the form. So now in V3, so suppose wherever possible, we have added the relevant attachment section with this, within the block itself. Suppose if you see nominee section or address section, so you can see attachments are added here itself. There is no need to wait till the end of the form and then attach the details. This is not required. Wherever possible, you can give attachments within the same section or same block only. This is one of the enhancements that you get to see in most of the forms. And standardized notings in case of rejection or resubmission to be provided to back office users, and remarks can be viewed through application history. So as we all know, like we have this concept of application history. So you can see all the forms which you have filed and you can take all the necessary actions. Suppose if you want to upload your form or if you want to affix your DSC or if you want to resubmit your form, you want to use the extend name functionality, if it is a Spice Plus Party, all these functionalities are available in application dashboard. So whenever your form is marked for resubmission, so if you want to view your reasons for that resubmission, there will be an option given as view remarks. So if you click on that view remarks, user can see the remarks which are given by the back office user. So there is no need to access your email or the mail that got triggered to you. There's no need to follow that manual process. You can see all your resubmission remarks within the application history itself in the dashboard. And then the next enhancement is basically the requirement to provide INC 14 as an attachment to be done away with, adding in the declaration by professional. So as I mentioned earlier, so you get to see a lot of attachments removal, which got converted into form data fields or in the form of declaration. So all such changes you get to see in Spice Plus Part B and URC1 also. So this is one such example. INC 14 is basically a declaration by a professional, which is required to be given whenever you're incorporating a Section 8 company. So we have removed this attachment, and anyway, we have a Spice Plus Part B, we have the declaration by professional section. So there itself, we have added INC 14 declaration also. I'll just show you. You can see here, if you compare V2 form, so we have only like till here. These two new declarations got added to cater INC 14 related declarations, so which will get enabled or displayed to the users only if you are trying to incorporate your company as Section 8 company. So the next enhancement that we have made is INC 14. So the requirement to provide INC 14 as an attachment is removed by adding in the declaration by all subscribers. So this is again for Section 8 companies. This is for subscribers and directors. Similar to declaration by a professional, we have added all this declaration here only for subscribers and or directors. So this attachment also got converted into a declaration. Now the requirement of providing attachment resolution of unregistered companies. So basically there's one attachment in V2 system which is basically called resolution of unregistered companies. In case you want to incorporate a Part 1 company, so basically Part 1 LLP or Part 1 firm or whatever the categories that we have in URC1. So it is mandatory to attach your resolution of unregistered companies in that case, that too in Spice Plus Part B. So what we have done now is, since it is only getting enabled for URC1, so we have removed this attachment from Spice Plus Part B, and we have added this in the URC1 itself. So this is also one of the enhancement, which this attachment now going forward, you will get to see only in URC1, not in Spice Plus Part B. And then the requirement to provide attachment part. So basically in V2 system, again, we have two different ways through which you can reserve your name, right? So you can reserve your name by filing Spice Plus Part A independently, or you can file it with Part A and B together. Whenever you are filing Part A independently and you are trying to file Part B later on after approval of Part A, so in V2 system, there is an attachment, mandatory attachment to attach your Part A PDF. Now we have removed this concept of attachment of Part A because back office users will have access to all these documents while processing the form. So we have enabled the back office to provide all such linked filings within the workflow itself. So there is no need to give this attachment again while filing your Part B. And geo coordinates to be inquired. So basically, whenever you're giving your address details, we have added latitude and longitude. So you need to provide those details also. So and this data field you get to see in many forms like INC 22 or INC 23. So this is one of the common enhancement across the forms. Wherever you have to enter your address details. And all the remaining points are basically the generic points, which we've already discussed: attachments removed and other enhancements, repositioning of the fields, and several business. These are common changes that we have done it in all other forms. So now we'll quickly move to the next form, which is URC1 form, which is required to be filed whenever you want to incorporate your company as Part 1 company. So here also, and moreover, URC1 can be filed. It cannot be filed as an independent filing. It will always come as a linked filing to your Spice Plus Part B whenever you're incorporating your company as Part 1 company. So here, as I mentioned, the resolution of unregistered companies, we have added this attachment in URC1. And there are a couple of attachments which are relating to consent of majority of members or consent of 3/4 of members agreeing. So there are multiple attachments which are there in URC1. So what we have done is we have removed all these attachments from URC1 and we have added it as a declaration in INC 9 form. So those declarations will get enabled or disabled depending on your type of company. So I'll just quickly show you INC 9 also. You can see here, this declaration we have added. Currently, this is getting filed as an attachment in URC1 in V2 system, so which we have removed it in V3, and we have added it in INC 9, which is nothing but declaration by subscribers and or first directors. So this is one of the change. And then there is one more attachment, declaration of two or more directors. So this also we have removed. And we have added a declaration in URC1 form itself. So we have removed this declaration of 2 or more directors verifying the particulars of all members. And this also undertaking by the proposed directors of the companies. These two attachments we have removed and we have added as a declaration in URC1 form itself. So if you see here, if I go down to declaration section, you can see this we have added and this also we have added. So wherever possible, we have removed the attachment from the form and we've added it as a declaration. So attachment certificate from CA, CS, CMA certifying the compliance. This also we have added it as a declaration in URC1. Currently in V2, it is getting filed as an attachment. So you can see here, certificate by practicing professional. We have added all the sections. And we have made some nomenclature changes in terms of 1 or 2 attachments. We have renamed the attachments so that there is no ambiguity in terms of the data that user is getting attached in the form. And inclusion of additional fields for capturing the publication of advertisements. So this is also one of the new field that we have added in URC1 form. So because whenever you are converting your part one, your existing entity into a part one company, so you have to publish in the newspaper and you have to wait for a certain period of 30 days. I think 30 days is the period as per Rule 4 of companies authorized to register rules. So we have added that field in the form itself. And once you file, suppose if any linked filing is happening with URC1, any Spice Plus form is getting filed with the linked filing URC1 and you have entered some advertisement date in the form layout, till the time this period process 30 days, this will not be picked up for processing because as per law, once you give the advertisement in the newspaper, you have to wait for a period of 30 days. So this will be taken care in the back office flow itself. So the moment you file the form, if 30 days period is not lapsed, we will not push this SR into the processing flow. So it will be there in the queue. And once this 30-day period is crossed, then only it will be picked up for processing. And moreover, we have added, since we have added this advertisement details, obviously we have to take the objections also, if any. So all such objections will be can be provided in the form of, we have added one data field also in the form. And if they want to attach the details, they can also attach it in the form itself. So we have added, accordingly, we have added copy of objections received from companies along with details of resolution provided. So if applicable, if they want to give any objection details, they can provide it in the form of attachment. All other points are common points across the forms. So now let us move to the next form, EMOA and EAOA. So as I mentioned, we have introduced INC 13 and 31, which is applicable for Section 8 companies. And apart from this, in terms of INC 33 and 34, in terms of layout, there is no change in the layout. But we are auto-populating object clause and subscriber and share capital details from Spice Plus Party and Part B because in V2 system, current in V2 system, we used to enter objects manually, right? And user has to give the details of objects manually. But now since we have introduced the concept of NIC 2008, that to 5-digit code, so we will be populating your objects also from Spice Plus Party. And same way, subscriber and shareholder details, we are capturing class-wise information. And all the subscriber and subscriber details also in Spice Plus Part B, we will be pre-filling the data from Part B. So these are all the major enhancement in terms of EMOA and EAOA. And then Agile Pro S, so which is required to be filed for, which is a mandatory link filing for Spice Plus Part B for all external integrations except PAN. PAN-10 information, you have to provide it in Spice Plus Part B itself. So all other information apart from PAN-10, which is not already covered in Spice Plus Part B, you have to give it in INC 35, that is Agile Pro S. So in terms of layout, we have not made any changes in the layout. Only this attachment. So basically, the attachment placement. So wherever whenever you're providing the some input data, so there itself we've added that attachment, like identity proof or residence proof or whatever. So apart from this, we have not made any changes in Agile Pro S. One enhancement is basically in Agile Pro S. So once you suppose, let's say in Spice Plus Part B, you've given 5 director details. You have to refer one of such director as an authorized person in section 12A, right? And in those cases, you need not enter the details manually. So once you enter the details of how many directors you want to give it in Agile Pro S subject to a minimum requirement which is prescribed in the law. So you will get a drop-down value for selection. So you will get all the list of DINs or PAN numbers or passport numbers, whatever you want to select. You can select from the drop-down, and based on that value selected, all the details would get auto-populated from Spice Plus Part B. Or if you already have a DIN and you're trying to file incorporation form, then in that case, data will be picked from your MCA database directly. This is one of the enhancement in Agile Pro S. And then INC 9, so declaration by first subscribers and first directors. So this is one of the form which is basically auto-generated form. There is no manual intervention to fill in this form, both in V2 and V3 system. So once you upload a Spice Plus Part B, so INC 9 form would get auto-generated and without any manual intervention. That is, you need not enter any details. Data will be picked from Spice Plus Part B, including all the declarations, whatever we have discussed, or whatever the changes that we have made in URC1 or Spice Plus Part B. Depending on your type of company, the relevant declaration part would get enabled and would get auto-selected. So that is only the enhancement that we have made. Otherwise, the flow of form or the way a form is getting generated in V2 and V3 would remain same. It is auto-generated, only you will be able to affix the DSC. Apart from that, you will not be able to make any changes to INC 9 form. So all these points we've already discussed. So the requirement to provide INC 15 as an attachment is done with, and we've added this in INC 9, and URC1 related attachments also got converted into a declaration in INC 9, which we've already seen. Other changes are the normal changes. So with this, we have completed all incorporation forms except for run. So run, there is no change. It is exactly same the way it is there in V2 system. So Sarika ma'am, can we proceed with the remaining forms, 46 forms, ma'am, or any questions? Do we need to take up any questions?
There are lot many questions, but I think we can take up questions at last. And if you can,
ma'am. So in terms of 46 forms, I think let us cover only top 10 forms. Is it fine, ma'am? If we cover top 10 forms?
Yeah, at least to start with, a name can be shown for all 46 forms.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you can cover top forms.
Okay. So we'll just go back to the previous slide, which included to show you all the list of 46 forms. You can see all director forms are available in set 2 only. DIR 12, 11, 3, 3C, 5, 6. And apart from this, we have added 2 new forms called DIR 9 and 10. And all conversion forms, that is INC 12, 18, 20, 20A. 20 is not basically a conversion form, it is for commencement of business. And 22, 23 for changing your address. INC 24 for changing your name. INC 27 for converting your class private to public or vice versa, or unlimited to limited, vice versa. The INC 28, so which is required to be filed whenever you have an order which needs to be filed with the Register of Companies, which is given by order which is issued by any competent authority like RD, court, or NCLB. And then INC 4, which is applicable for one-person company whenever you want to change your member or nominee, because it is one-person company whenever any change is required in the member, or if you want to change the nominee, so you have to go and file INC 4 form. And then INC 6, which is required to be filed for converting your one-person company into a private company, or you want to convert your private company or public company into one-person company. And MGT 14, which is again a very important form, which is required to be filed for intimating all your resolutions or agreements which are taking place in the company. So you have to file this form. So we have added many purposes, and we have added linked filings and all. So we will discuss about MGT 14 in detail. And next form is MR1, MR2, which MR1 is basically required to be filed for your KMP, which have a role of managing director, whole-time director, or manager. You have to file this form within 60 days of your appointment. And MR2 is basically application to central government. So for appointment or reappointment or remuneration, so basically it is schedule 3 related information. Sorry, I don't remember the schedule. So basically it is required to be filed whenever you want to go and get an approval from central government. And all NDH 4 forms we have included. NDH 1 is for filing your statutory complaints application for extension of time, that is NDH 2. So NDH forms have undergone a lot of changes in the recent times in V2. So we have replicated all such changes in V3 system. So including NDH 2 and 4, where NDH 4 we have a concept of deemed approval now. So all these changes you get to see, whatever are there in V3, V2 we have carried forward to V3 system as well. And Part 6 is basically a reconciliation of share capital audit report, which is required to be filed on a half-yearly basis. So here also, the one of the change that you get to see is class-wise. You have to provide your details class-wise capital. So, which is not currently there in V2 form. And MGT3, it is hardly filed form. So this is required to be filed for giving your situation or notice of situation or change in situation of discontinuing your situation of place of business where you have registered your foreign registered is kept basically. So we hardly have filings for this form. So then Pass 2, as I mentioned, this is a new form added. So which is currently there as an attachment in GNL2. And AOC 5 is basically notice of address at which books of accounts are maintained. So this form also we have moved to V3. Though it is basically related to accounts chapter, but we thought we can move this form. There is no dependency of the rule change and all. So that's why we have taken up this form as well as part of this set. And all foreign company forms, FC1 is required to be filed for establishing your foreign company which has place of business in India. And then FC2 is for changing your details of that foreign company. FC3 is again annual accounts. FC4 is for annual return. And GNL2 is basically a generic form, which is required to be filed with registrar if you want to submit any of the documents. And here also we have enhanced some purposes. We have added some new purposes. And GNL4 is basically the addendum form, which is required to be filed whenever your SRN is marked for pending for user clarification. So that is when this form will come into picture. And then MSA form, all MSC forms we've included. So MSC1, whenever you want to obtain the status of dormant under section 455, you have to file this form. And MSC3 is basically a return of deposits. Which is similar to your annual complaints like AOC4 and MGT7. So for dormant companies which are which have the status of dormant under section 455, they have to file MSC3 form on an annual basis. Now MSC4 is basically if you want to get the status back to active, so then you have to go and file MSC4. RD1 form is again is required to be filed for rectification of your name and compounding of offences. There are multiple purposes which are there. So you have to file RD1 for such purposes. And in RD1 also, last 1.5 years back, we have introduced the concept of auto name rejection. So the same flow would continue in VP as well. Suppose that is, for example, if an application filed by a company A by mentioning that the company B's name is similar to company A and RD issues an order, the company B has to change its name within a period of 3 months. If they've not changed their name within a period of 3 months, the system will automatically change its name by following the process which is defined in the rules. So these are all the 46 forms that are included in this set currently. So let us talk about the critical forms. I will take you through maybe approximately 10 or 15 forms. I will just explain you the changes that are happened in top forms. Let us begin with BIR 12. So which is most frequently filed form. So this form is required to be filed for appointment of directors or change in designation of directors or cessation of directors, or if you want to appoint or cessate any of the KMPs. So we have 4 different KMP roles apart from managing director and whole-time director, which are already covered in director roles, that is CEO, CFO, manager, and secretary. So for any of the association changes, you have to file DIR 12 form. So in terms of processing type, so we have not made any change in the processing type. In V2 also it is conditional STP. In V3 also it is going to be a conditional STP form, but only one enhancement that we have made is we have introduced 2 new purposes in the layout. I'll just show you DIR 12 form once. So currently, if you look at DIR 12 form, which is available in V2, you get to see only purpose of filing for director section. You will get to see only appointment, cessation, and change in designation. So now here we have added 2 new purposes: appointment due to disqualification of our existing directors and appointment by liquidator IRP RP. So currently there is a deadlock situation. Suppose if there is a company wherein all directors are disqualified and there is no one to sign the form in this scenario. So that is why there is a block that they will not be able to file DIR 12, and there comes a situation that they have to approach the respective ROCs and they have to raise a request for creating the association by using the back office service. That is a long process. So all this is happening because there is no one to sign this form, because all of them have been disqualified, and they for us to file a form, DIR 12 form, person has to affix DSC by providing his DIN or PAN number, and that DIN has to be in approved status. Since the disqualification happened for all the directors, there is no way to file this form in V2 system. So now what we have done in V3 is basically, if all directors are disqualified, then you can select this option and promoter shareholder, any one of the promoter shareholder who has his PAN number can affix his DSC. First of all, they have to create their business user role by with the role called manager, secretary, or authorized representative, which is basically I have mentioned earlier. If there is no, you will not be able to register your role under DIN or director designated partner role. You can create your role under manager, secretary, or authorized representative role, right? So any of the promoter shareholder can register themselves as a business user with the role of authorized representative by providing their PAN number, and then they can sign this form. So in this case, role check will not happen, because obviously we will not be able to check whether this person is actually a promoter shareholder or not. That is the reason why we will be routing this work item, this SRN, to back office user for processing. It will not get auto approved the way it is happening for normal appointments. And this is one of the new purpose that we have added: appointment by liquidator IRP RP. This is again we've added we have made a lot of changes in multiple forms to enable liquidator IRP RP to sign the forms. And in fact, we have created a separate flow in INC 28 to create your association as a liquidator IRP RP, so which we will be discussing in next slides. So if appointment liquidator or IRP RP wants to appoint a director, then they have to choose this option. So in that case, we have a check that the company for which they are trying to appoint with the capacity of director or liquidator IRP or RP. So the company should be under CIRP status. So that is the validation that we have, so which means you will not be able to file this form for all the companies. If your company is under CIRP or under liquidation, then you can select this radio button, and any liquidator, so the liquidator IRP RP associated with that company can file this form. So let me go back to the presentation. So these 2 purposes, whatever we have added, so appointment due to disqualification will be processed under non-STP mode, both disqualification of all directors or appointment by liquidator IRP RP. Even though it is for appointment, it will be routed to the back office user for processing. Otherwise, in V2 system, all appointments would get auto-approved, right? So, but this is one of the exception in V3. So in these 2 cases, SRN will go to back office user for further processing. And also here also we have added one more non-STP scenario. If your company is actually marked under management dispute, then also your form will be routed to back office user processing, because if your company is marked for management dispute, system will not be able to approve this form. It will be parked somewhere. So so going forward in V3, so it will be moved to back office users queue, but it will not be fetched by the back office user till the time management dispute flag is removed. So this is also one of the enhancements that we have made in terms of processing type and purposes. And there is no change in the due date of filing. And let us talk about the enhancements. So forms have been made web-based. So this is a common change across all the forms. And 2 new purposes added, so which we've just discussed. 2 new purposes: appointment due to disqualification of all existing directors and appointment of by liquidator IRP-RP. So in case appointment due to disqualification of all existing directors, the promoter shareholder has to affix his DSC. In this case, IRP-RP or liquidator can sign the form. And now one more important change: the consent to act as a director in DIR 2. So currently in V2 DIR 12, for consent of director in DIR, it has to be given in DIR 2 in the form of an attachment, right? So now this got converted into a declaration in the form itself. So I'll just show you. You can see here, director consent and declaration. So this is nothing but DIR 2 layout, which is there in the root. So going forward, the person who is going to get appointed as a director also has to create his business user with director or designated partner role, and they have to associate the DSC with that business role, and they have to affix their DSC in the form, which means even the proposed director who is getting appointed, they have to sign the form digitally in V3 system, because DIR 2 is now converted into a mission readable format, which requires the DSC of the proposed director's DSC. So you can see here. So this part is currently getting filed as an attachment. So now going forward, you have to, these details would get pre-filled, and then you have to affix your DSC, the proposed director DSC, which means this form may require a maximum of 3 DSCs. One is the person who is getting appointed as a director, and the second DSC is basically appraised person, that is the on behalf of company, whoever is signing the form, like either director, manager, CEO, CFO, whatever the role. This DSC will, minimum 2 DSCs are mandatory if you're filing the form for appointment of directors. The third DSC is again certificate by practicing professional. It is applicable for other than small and OPC companies. So which means you have to, so whoever, please note that if you want to appoint any director in your company, so it is a prerequisite for that particular person to register himself as a business user with role director or designated partner, and then get their DSC and associate their DSC on MCA portal, and then affix their DSC on this form to upload the form successfully. So this is about the enhancements in terms of DIR 12. So next form is MGT 14.
Vijay, I would like to add a few points out here. In DIR 12, why we have included that purpose, where because it was a back office functionality where the stakeholders were going to the respective ROCs, and they were requesting for the compliance of provisions of Section 167. We have provided that the promoter shareholder have a provision to directly file this form, and he'll be having the direct control over the things. He'll be aware that what is happening in this form. That is why this purpose has been included. Besides that, I would also like to add that we have also introduced DIR 9 and DIR 10 as a e-form. Earlier, it was going as an attachment either to the GNL2 form or CG1 form. The functionality of DIR 9 is that whenever a company wants to intimate about the disqualification of any of the directors, then they are required to file DIR 9. After the approval of DIR 9, immediately the director, if it is due to this disqualification is due to Section 164(1), sorry if I'm going too technical, but just wanted to inform that he'll be ceased to be associated with all the companies where he was a director. But however, for the compliance of Sections 164(2)(b), he'll remain to be the director in the company where the default has occurred due to the non-payment of dividend or non-payment of interest on deposits and all those scenarios. Then in that scenario, he'll remain to be the director in that particular company, and that'll be done through system only. and he'll be disassociated from all the companies where he's working as a director in other companies. So now the purpose of pointing it out here is this. Now the system, if any discrepancies are found, then it'll be taken care at the system level only. So earlier the way disqualification was happening as a backend services, will be done through system only. So that is what I wanted to bring to your notice. And similarly, we have also introduced DIR 10 form, where we have also enhanced the purpose, where if a director is disqualified due to the provisions of section 164(1), he'll be allowed as an individual to go ahead and file DIR 10 for the removal of disqualification, even in the case he's not associated to any of the companies. So Vijaya, thank you very much. That's what I wanted to bring to the notice of all the stakeholders.
So next, let us move on to MGT 14, which is one of the critical form in terms of completing your flow of convergence. So this form is again in V2 also. It is basically a conditional STP form for a few purposes. This form can be, since it is a filing of resolutions, we have n number of purposes which will come as a drop down value, and you have to choose the relevant drop down purpose, and you have to file this form. Many of the purposes would get processed under STP, and a few purposes like conversion cases, or if you want to change your objects, in those cases the form is getting routed to back office user for processing in V2. So in terms of comparing the purposes, actually there are a lot of changes happened in terms of purposes list, number of purposes that we have in V2 and V3. And we also have introduced the concept of EMOA and EAOA with this form as well. So I'll just quickly show you the purposes Excel that we have. Just highlight 2-3 points. So when we say purposes got enhanced or modified, so a few purposes in V2 got split into 2 different purposes. Suppose, for example, if you take this purpose, change in registered office resulting in change in ROC, or change in address resulting in change in state within the jurisdiction or outside the jurisdiction, if you look at V2 layout, you get to see only one purpose. For these 2 purposes, there is only one purpose, which is change in address. So, but now we have bifurcated into 2 different purposes, and accordingly, your INC 23 is also enhanced. So in INC 23 also you will get to see 3 different purposes instead of 2 in V2. So whenever you're filing INC 23, so I'm referring your MGT 14 SRN. So we will be validating whatever the SRN that you've entered in the form is actually filed with the so-and-so purpose or not. So same way, these 2 purposes, if you see, alteration in memorandum of association except in case of change in name, registered office, authorized share capital. So these purposes also we have bifurcated into 2 separate purposes in V2. So V3, but we have only one purpose in V2. So, and also we have added many new purposes. Suppose if in terms of number, if you ask me, so we have 50 plus purposes in V2 layout of MCA 14, whereas here we have enhanced that limit to 60 plus. So we have added all these purposes for conversion. So currently in V2 layout only we have the purpose for conversion of public into private or private into public. But in INC 27, there are a lot of other conversions also allowed, right? So limited by guarantee to limited by shares or vice versa. So we have added all such purposes so that we can validate the MGT 14 SRN in the respective conversion form to see whether that form is actually the MGT 14 is filed for the relevant purpose or not. And same way, allotment of securities, we have added actually new purposes for this also. Currently, we have only a sweat equity shares related purpose and employee ESOP related purposes. We have hardly 2-3 purposes, but we have added many purposes in this form. So these are all some examples where we have enhanced this list of purposes in MGT 14 form. And also very important, we have added now these 2 purposes also, voluntary liquidation under section 59 and other IBC codes 2016 related purposes which are not there in current e-form. So which is basically a constraint in V2 system. Suppose if you've already actually under voluntary liquidation under Section 59 of IBC 2016. So there is no way to file your form and there is no way to change your status in V2 system. You have to raise a request to the ROC or MCA governance to change the status through by following a different process, which is not happening through system. So no, now going forward, that will not happen. So if you are actually under voluntary liquidation under Section 59 or any other purpose related, any other IBC related, IBC 2016 related details that you want to file, you can file this form with by selecting the relevant sections, and all the status changes, everything would happen automatically. So now we'll quickly go to the presentation and let us see the changes. So this is again EMO in case of change in objects, introduction of NSE 2008 code. So this is done in line with SPICE Plus Part A, because we have already introduced NSE 2008 in incorporation form. So obviously we have to introduce same concept in MGT 14 whenever you're changing your objects and the change in objects have an impact on your NIC code. Then going forward, you have to give your 5-digit NIC 2008 code, not the 2-digit code, which is currently happening in V2. And EMOA and EAOA introduced as a linked filing for multiple purposes. So we have introduced MOA and EOA as a linked filing to MGT 14 in multiple purposes, like whenever you're changing your address within outside the state or outside the ROC space, there are so many purposes wherein your MOA, AOA would get impacted, right? So in all those cases, we have introduced this EMOA, AOA as a linked filing to MGT 14 itself. So whenever you are attaching MOA, AOA as a linked filing in MGT 14, system will not ask you to attach again. Suppose, for example, a change in address outside the state, for example. So you have to file EMOA, AOA, for example, and we are asking the user to attach EAOA, EMOA in MGT 14 form. So it will not be repeated again in INC 23 or INC 22, because anyway, you will be giving a reference of MGT 14 in those forms. And back of this user, while processing the form, he will have access to all such linked filings in the system itself. There is no need to give the details again and again. And as we discussed, we have added new purposes and we have modified the existing purposes. And we have also changed the processing type of new purposes. For example, alteration in memorandum for change of name. In V2, it is getting processed under non-STP process mode. Now we have converted that into STP mode. And automatic change of status. This is one of the critical change in terms of liquidation proceedings. So currently, which is not there in V2 system. So the moment you file the form with the Section 59 of IBC 2016, so your status of the company would get automatically changed to under liquidation. And also, whenever you're giving the details of, whenever you're selecting that purpose, you are supposed to give your liquidator details also. So as part of this form, the moment your status gets changed to under liquidation, your association details of the liquidator also would get created in the system, so that going forward, liquidator can file any of the prescribed forms. And we have removed some purposes and we've added some purposes. We've already discussed this. And point number 9, if you see, we have added SRN of run form in case purpose selected is alteration in memorandum of change of name. So this is done because we are converting this purpose to STP mode, right? So which means if you want to file a resolution for change of name, first you have to go and reserve a name and you have to give a reference of that SRN of run in the form, and then only system will auto approve your SRN. And section pertaining to IBC 2016 added, we've discussed this. Interim resolution professional has been added as a signatory. This also we discussed. Let us quickly see some of other forms. INC 20A, it is again most frequently filed form. If your company is limited by shares, you have to file this form within 180 days of your incorporation. So in terms of form layout, we've not made many changes. Only we've added one new attachment, which is relating to photograph of registered office showing external binding. So which is there in similar to INC 22 attachment we've added here also. And linkage with compliance module. So basically, if you've not filed the form within 180 days, so you can still go ahead and upload this form, right, with additional fee. But wherever there is a delay or default in forms, we have linked all such non-compliances to compliance module so that the necessary e-adjudication proceedings can be taken by the ROC officials. And again, here also we've removed some of the attachments, subscribers proof of payment of value of shares, and we've converted that into a machine readable format within the form itself. These are all the major changes in INC 20A. DIR 3, so basically there is no change in terms of processing. So if there is no potential duplicate identified, your SRN of DIR 3 would get auto approved. If there is a potential duplicate, then it goes to DIL cell for further processing. So in terms of changes, we have not made any changes except positioning of attachments at the respective block itself. Other than that, the form layout, everything would remain same. And we have added jurisdictional police station field in the address column. So this is also one of the changes that we have made in DIR 3 form. So INC 22, which is required to be filed for changing your address or whenever you have not given your address at the time of incorporation, that is verification of whenever you want to file your verification of registered office address within 30 days. So then you have to file this form. So as far as purposes or the processing type, everything would remain same. So this is again conditional STP form. So if you're changing your address, so first of all, STP modes are basically whenever you're giving your verification of registered office address for the first time, that is at the time of incorporation, you've given only correspondence address and you've not given your registered address, then you have to file this form within 30 days. So that time, and then whenever you're going forward, whenever you're changing your address within the local limits of city or town or village, or you're changing outside the local limits of city or town, but within the same state and ROC in these three purposes, your SRN would get processed under STP in all other cases. So all other cases are basically, there are three scenarios. Change in state within the same, change in ROC within the same state. So this will come into picture only for Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, where you have two jurisdictional ROCs. Suppose Maharashtra, it is ROC Mumbai and ROC Pune. In that case, you have to choose this option. And second point is change in state within the jurisdiction of existing ROC. This is basically, we have multiple ROCs which have jurisdiction over multiple states. Like for example, Delhi and Haryana have ROC. Delhi has a jurisdiction over these two states or UT. So whenever you want to change your address within that jurisdiction, so you have to choose this purpose. And then change in outside the jurisdiction of existing ROC. Basically, in this case, both your state and ROC would get changed. For example, if you want to change your address from ROC Telangana to ROC Delhi, for example, your state also will get changed and ROC would also get changed. These three purposes you get to see in INC 23 as well, because if you want to, since this process, as I mentioned, it will go to non-STP, and there's a legal process defined for changing your address in these three cases that you have to go and file. First, you have to go and file MGT 14, and then you have to file INC 23, then followed by INC 28, and finally INC 22. So we've made sure that all these purposes are consistent across the forms, so that we have proper data in the system. There is no change in the due dates. So enhancements, let us talk about the enhancements. So geo coordinates, as I mentioned, we have added the latitude, longitude in all the forms, wherever you are capturing your address of the company, and restriction on filing of the form. So this is also one of the important points that we would like to highlight. So in many of the conversion forms, especially whenever your SIM is getting changed, we have that validation, right? Whenever you're uploading, whenever you click on pre-scrutiny in V2, you will get an error saying that there's some so-and-so form is pending for approval, you will not be able to proceed. So what we have done is, in all such forms, we have removed this validation from the pre-scrutiny or at the FO front office level. But while processing the form, in all these cases, anyway, form is going to back office user. We have kept this validation at the back office. That means you will be able to proceed with filing, because that is impacting many other, especially the additional fee or the penalties and all. So to ensure that there is no restriction at the FO end, we will be allowing the filing at FO, but it will go to back office user, and back office user will be able to approve the form only after clearing the entire pendency which is relating to that company. So this kind of shift you can see in many conversion forms wherever you have this pending forms check. And we have removed some of the attachments which are listed down here. So one important point is copy of altered memorandum and association. As I mentioned, now going forward, you will be filing your altered memorandum and association with the MGT 14 itself. So that is why we have removed this attachment from this form, but user have to give a reference of MGT 14 SRN. Seema, you would like to take up Pass 3 and SH7? Okay. Sarika ma'am, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. So let us continue. So pass 3 form, this is again STP form, written of allotment form, which is again most frequently filed form. So there is no change in the due dates and there is no change in the rule also. So you have to file this form within 30 days of allotment. If it is other than private placement, if it is a private placement allotment, then you have to file this form within 15 days of such allotment. So enhancements, also pass 3 form is one form where you get to see a lot of changes in terms of the way form is structured in V3 when compared with V2. Maybe you can feel like everything is changed, but actually we've actually enhanced the form to the extent possible to give the information in a precise manner and try to bifurcate the data in different blocks and different classes and all. So that is why you get to see a lot of changes in pass 3 form when compared with V2 layout of pass 3. So first thing is type of securities. We have added a new drop-down value. Now in V2 form, now we have 3 sections. Allotment for cash, allotment other than cash, and bonus. These are the 3 sections that we have. But now instead of that, we have added, and again within the same section, we have equity, preference, and debentures and all. So it is basically to ensure that everything is there at one place. So we have added this. There's a drop down you will get to see, which is called type of security. First of all, you have to select whether you are trying to give this allotment details for which type of security, whether it is equity, preference, or for debentures. And then depending on the type of security, so we have added one more field called type of allotment. So basically type of allotment, whether you are actually allotting the shares public issue or private placement or preferential allotment, bonus. We have added a number of drop-down values or bonus like that. So you have to choose the relevant allotment mode and then you have to provide the details. And as I mentioned earlier, in all the forms, wherever you have capital related information, everything you have to provide it in class-wise information only. If you have one class, you have to give your class number of classes as 1 and you have to give the details. And we have also added additional some new fields which are relating to valuation, especially for shares which are getting issued for other than cash. So we are capturing the name of the person and IBBI is IBBI registration number, is mobile number, all the details we are capturing in the form itself. And we have added some additional declarations also. And point number 6, very important. In pass 3 in V2 system, what happens is if number of allottees are huge and we have a restriction of file size of 6 MB, right? So if you have huge list of allottees which you will not be able to upload it in the form as an attachment, then you have to choose that you will be uploading it as a in the form of Excel by using a service called upload investor details or allottee details at MCA portal. Now, going forward, we have removed that concept of uploading this Excel and going to that service and all. So you have to attach all the details in the form of Excel to the form itself. So accordingly, we have enhanced the file size limit for this pass 3 form. So going forward, whatever may be the number, if it is 1 lakh or 10,000 or 10 allottees, you have to give all such details in the form of attachment only in Excel format. This is one of the major enhancement in terms of pass 3, so that your form would get auto-approved. Otherwise, what happens is you have to file this form and then you have to go and download that FO service and you have to upload there and you have to submit. There's a lot of process involved. So to ensure that there's no delay in terms of approval process, and till the time, even though this is STP form, till the time you go and upload those details, it will not get auto-approved. So now going forward in V3, everything will happen at one go. And you have to attach everything in the form itself. So one more declaration we have added: the return of allotment in form pass 3 is not pending for any such allotment of securities. So basically, this is also one of the issue that we have seen earlier in multiple occasions, where suppose you file one form today with the allotment date as 1st Jan 2023. And tomorrow you try to file another pass 3 form with the event date lesser than 1st Jan, say for example, 1st October 2022. So that is ideally should not happen. You have to file the form in sequential manner. So that is why we have added this one declaration which mandates the user to select or select this checkbox saying that whatever the pass 3 that I'm filing, there is no such allotment which is pending prior to this date of allotment. Suppose if I am entering 1st Jan 2023 as my allotment date, I have to confirm to the system that there is no allotment form which is pending prior to this date. So this point, this declaration also we have added. And we have added few other declarations which you can see. And we have removed many attachments here, copy of board's resolution, copy of special resolution. The reason for removal of these attachments are basically either we are capturing this information in some other form, or system can fetch these details based on your MGT 14 SRN or whatever the SRN details that you are entering. Suppose copy of special resolution for the issue of bonus shares. Anyway, system will mandate the user to enter MGT 14 SRN. If we have the MGT 14 SRN, then anyway, if whenever you want to verify the details, we can very well go back to the MCA system and can check the details based on that SRN. So there is no need to ask the user to attach the copy of resolution again, because he must have already given this resolution details as part of your MGT 14 filing. So SH8, very important form. So and big enhancement happened here. So currently in V2 system, this form is basically a pure non-STP form. So we have 6 or 7 purposes, right? 6 purposes we have. All purposes are getting approved through non-STP mode only. But going forward in V3, a SH7 form, if filed for increase in share capital independently by the company, which is the most frequently filed purpose in MCA. So this purpose would get auto-approved in V3, which means this purpose, if you file this form with this purpose, system will auto-approve the SRN under STP mode. In all other purposes, it will go to back office user for processing, which means 95% of the cases of SH7 now would get processed under STP mode. So all these purposes, due dates, there is no change in the due dates. It would remain same. Now enhancements. So as I mentioned, processing type got changed from non-STP to conditional STP. And then mandatory linked filing of EMOA and EAOA. So this we've discussed at the beginning itself. SH7, whenever you're filing SH7, you have to file linked filing of EMOA, EAOA, whether it is INC 33 or 13 or 31 or 34. So depending on your type of company, the relevant EMOA form, EAOA form would get enabled, and you have to mandatorily file this as a linked file. And now following attachments are now captured in the machine readable format. So we have removed these attachment details and we have added the relevant fields in the form itself. Like for example, copy of central government order, we have asked the user to give the details of INC 28 SRN. Obviously, whenever you have an order which is issued by any competent authority, you have to go and file INC 28. And obviously, you have to refer that INC 28 SRN in SH7. So then when I have the INC 28 SRN with me, then there is no need to ask the user to attach this document again, because based on INC 28 from system, you can pull out the order details, right? So that is the reason why we've removed copy of central government order or the tribunal order or board resolution. So all these attachments we have removed. Instead, we have captured the details of relevant SRNs in the form itself. So that we can, in future, if you want to pull out that copy of the order or copy of resolution, we can extract the same from the database. And again, shares shall be captured class-wise. This is again a common change across all the forms wherever you are giving capital details. And a few declaration changes we have done in SH7. So this is about SH7. So Sarika ma'am, in the interest of time, I think we should stop here and we should take a few questions.
I have listed the questions already in our chat, but let me read it. I will start with first question.
Yeah, ma'am.
I registered myself as a practicing professional for filing for V3 company form filing. Unfortunately, I registered myself as a registered user instead of business user. I tried several times for editing the user category from registered user to business user, but failed. It's showing a user account already exists with the PAN provided. Please try to log in.
Maybe, ma'am, this may be an issue of multiple user IDs with the same PAN or the same email ID. User can log a ticket and we have to handle this on an exceptional basis. If there is an issue in upgrading role and user is getting this error of already registered with the same PAN or email ID, this may be due to having multiple user IDs in V2 system. So that is why user is getting this error. Maybe user can log a ticket and our team will check and get back to the user.
Sure. Then, while submitting the form MCA-14 of company system shows an error that you are not authorized to e-file form for the selected company.
Yeah. So, ma'am, as I mentioned, going forward in VP, you will be able to upload the form if you are associated with that company, except for professional role. Maybe user is trying to upload a form where he is not actually associated or connected with the company. So that may be the issue, ma'am.
Okay, so I have a form SPICE pending for resubmission on V2 portal, but now after login in on V3 portal, it shows that the form is pending for resubmission, but neither it is getting downloaded nor any edit option comes.
Ma'am, actually, a team is working on it. So all pending forms, whatever are there in V2, especially for incorporation, so they will be getting an option to resubmit these forms in V3 system. So maybe some migration is happening. So maybe in a couple of, maybe in 1 or 2 days, I think we will be triggering that email also to resubmit the form in V3. So team is at work to enable this filing in V3, ma'am. So they will get the relevant information.
Sure. While filing MCA-14, when submit is clicked, there pops up an error stating you are not authorized to file this e-form for the selected, like you have already told.
Yes.
Only the people associated with the company can file it, or a professional user can file it, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But he's telling I have registered myself as a business user. So
maybe we have to see business user role also. We have multiple roles, right? So which role is registering and what is the whether that person is actually associated with that company or not. So having a business user role will not allow the person to file all forms, right? So that we have to see once.
Sure. I have been trying to file SH7. However, the technical error occurred is appearing since morning.
Ma'am, I think user have to raise a ticket. Maybe this is again teething issues. I would request user to wait for some time and then try again. If not, then he or she can log a ticket, or he can use the Google Forms and raise his concern.
Name reserved in MCA V2 portal. How to get the same SRN in V3? It is like you have already told.
Team is yes, ma'am. Team is at work to migrate all the pending SRNs of name reservations or SPICE plays or any other forms. So they will get the communication soon, ma'am.
Sure. SPICE Part B is not saved as draft when filed together with Part A.
They have to click on save button at each page, ma'am. So maybe user is clicking next button without saving. There's whenever you're filling a form, so you will have previous, next, and save, right?
Okay.
So previous, save, next. This is a sequence. So it is advisable for all the professionals or the stakeholders whoever is filling up. They can save the form at each page, so that wherever you stopped now, you can go back to the edit screen and application dashboard and you click on edit and you can start from there. If you go to next without saving, maybe I think that is the reason why user is facing the issue. So it is advisable to save the form at each page.
And then go to next page.
Yes.
Portal V3 says your password expires, but when we forget the password and we are not able to receive OTP on registered mobile number, this is the most common issue in V3 portal.
Sorry, ma'am, can you please come again with the issue?
Forgot password option is not working. Forgot password, a person is not able to.
Maybe, ma'am, again, this is I think only user specific issue. User can raise a ticket and let us know the ticket number so that our technical team can get back.
No, so 1 minute.
Rajneesh.
So is it a issue being faced by all the people who are trying to reset their password or when they have forgotten the password, or is it a specific user issue?
Sir, in the webinar it has been received now.
Because we have checked this extensively, and in our view, there was an issue for old users whose credentials were brought in from V2 system. If a user has registered himself or herself in V3 system, and then for some reason you typed a wrong password and your password has got logged, and you want to reset your password using this particular facility or feature of the system, then it should work. I don't think it should be a problem, because in that case, I think the OTP goes both to the mobile number as well as the email which has been registered by the user.
Okay, I would request the users to again, if these issues still persist, in the mass mailer which we have sent and also on the website of ICI, we have hosted a Google form link where you can submit your issue.
Yes, yes.
So if it is still persisting, kindly fill your issue in our Google form. Yeah. Next is in pass rate showing number of premium or discount should be greater than 0. How is it possible if the shares are being issued at par?
Sorry, ma'am, can you please come again?
In pass 3 form, it is showing number of premium or discount should be greater than 0. How is it possible if the shares are being issued at par?
So, ma'am, I will we'll check and get back to you. It should not happen. Obviously, if you are issuing shares at par or at face value, we will not have premium or discount value. So we will check and get back, ma'am. So user can raise a ticket and we will check it in the system. Maybe if there is any technical issue, we'll try to fix it.
Next is a new forms on V3 compulsory asking for professional certification on every form. No company is a small company.
No,
actually,
no,
as per the requirement, small companies may not required.
Yes,
to have
ma'am.
Professional
Yes,
certification.
ma'am. So if user can let us know the form ID in which he's facing the issue, because we have tested all the forms and the small company, wherever your company flag is raised as small company or OPC company, so practice and professional is DSC or certification is not mandatory, but user can raise a ticket with form ID so that we can check and get back.
Sure. Then our name was approved under MCA V2 on 17 January, but the SPICE forms are not allowed under V2. So we need your assistance. So you have already told you are in the process of migrating from V2 to V3. It will take 1 or 2 days and request you to please wait for some time.
Yes, ma'am.
Then I need to file form INC 22 for the purpose of verification of registered office post incorporation. It's showing error as INC 22 flag is not enabled against the same. It is again a migration issue,
ma'am.
Yeah. So once the migration is taken care, this issue will automatically be resolved.
Yeah, though migration is completed from our end, maybe there may be some 1 or 2 few companies, maybe this flag is not getting updated properly or it is yet to get updated. So we will check and get back. But otherwise, it is a migration issue.
Yeah. Whether NDH3 can be filed now if unencumbered term deposit is below 10%. It is showing error while saving the form regarding unencumbered term deposit that it is below 10.
So, ma'am, I would request the stakeholder to go through because there are a lot of changes happened in the NIBI rules recently, especially in the month of April. So accordingly, we have designed the form. So if it is any specific issue, so user can log a ticket and we will check with the rules and we'll check with MCA if any changes are required.
Okay. Then again, unable to file form SH7 due to pending form NDH4. What can be done now?
Ma'am, it is again, it is based on the rule written validation. So unless and until NDH4 is cleared by MCHQ, user will not be able to proceed with SH7. Maybe user must have filed this NDH4 after the due date. If the filing must have happened within the due date, we must have allowed SH7. If user is trying to file SH7 after due date of NDH4 filing, so system will restrict the filing, man. Both SH7 and pass 3, it will be restricted till the time NH4 is disposed. Okay. And now next is V2 portal. If the name has already been approved and the time is up to 6th of February. So is it possible that the migration will be completed before that the person can complete the SPICE part B? Yes, ma'am. Definitely. And in case of any issues, we will try to extend the name period also, but ideally they should be able to resubmit within the period. Okay. And I've got from 2-3 people about Form DIR12 asking for professional certification of a small company. And this question has been asked by 2-3 people. Yeah, maybe we'll check if there is any issue with the small company flag migration. But otherwise, this was working in our other environments. We'll cross check. The questions related to Form 3 and 4
as well as Form CHG1 we are not taking now.
Yeah.
We'll
Yes, ma'am.
take in another session. In GNL2, how can I attach the E-Form AOC4 since there is size restriction in V3 portal to 2 MB? Is there
Ma'am, it
any
is
other way to
again,
upload?
Ma'am, it is again, I think, V2 issue. Currently there is no way to attach the AOC4. They have to reduce the size of AOC4 and try to attach it in GNL2, ma'am. There is no, I think it is not relating to this 56 forms issue. It is something related to filing AOC4 as an attachment.
Okay. Run option not available for new company name reservation in V3 login. Actually, what has happened, Vijaya, when you go to the login page and you see login for V3 portal, only 9 forms are available now. So either we remove 9 forms or we write 9 plus 56 forms available. Otherwise, there is a confusion.
Okay, sure, ma'am. Got it.
It is not appearing.
Madam just wanted to inform that run form is not available for the new companies. It is available only for the existing companies. For new companies, you have to file the form in Spice Part A.
Yes, ma'am. Agree. But what I'm also telling is when you click on sign in, these options still are not available. So people may get confused. Only 9 forms are there. Login for V3 file.
We have to update it, ma'am. So to include this 56 forms also.
Okay. My due date to file the incorporation forms against name reserved in V2 portal is 24th now. What can be done?
Name reservation is getting expired, right?
Or tomorrow.
Okay. So, ma'am, we'll check with MCA and we'll see if we need to extend the names We'll check with them. Yeah.
But practically, ma'am, only 2 days of outage was there because SPICE forms were available on the V2 system. So if name reservation allows you to, so we can only go and make a case on MCA for extension of only that period where the system was not available. So it was only for 2 days, and that too also on Saturday and Sunday.
That is okay, sir. But the professional also tries to file the form, like Saturday, Sunday. Also, they try to file the form, and there are some or other technical issues. Like I also know when in case of conversion of the company, LLP to company, abbreviations form is not taking, it is not getting filed. Then resubmission cases are also there.
No,
so just a request from the user.
So anywhere where there is a technical outage which requires the extension of that form to be filed without any payment or any other impact, that extensions will be taken care of. But let's say if the form was to be filed, like somebody has done a run form filing and there was a SPICE Part B to be filed, so we had kept those forms enabled on the V2 system, and V2 system was working. So they should have filed within that period. So even if I have to go to, let's say, Sanjay ji or Manoj Pandey sir, we will not be able to put up a case for an extension over here.
Okay, sir, we'll take this separately. While clicking the mini dashboard, it's going to home page instead of this Part B.
Ma'am, so what else? Can you please come again, ma'am?
While clicking on the mini dashboard, it's going to home page instead of SPICE Part B.
This may be again user specific, ma'am. Maybe forms. We are actually in the process of migrating all the forms of V2 to V3's application history, right? Maybe because of that issue, user is facing this issue. Otherwise, once you fill in your SPICE Plus Part A, so mini dashboard would get automatically enabled, and once you click on mini dashboard, then the subsequent forms like SPICE Plus Part B would get enabled along with all the linked filings once you submit the SPICE Plus Part B.
In case of formation of a company, form is going through with 0 equity share capital and is formed with a preference share capital. Is it possible to incorporate a company without an equity share capital?
If the company is having a share capital, at least minimum number, suppose if I have a private company, so at least minimum 2 shares are required, right? That is the
form is going through, madam. That's
Okay.
what the question is. Firm is going through with zero
Ma'am.
equity share capital and with having
Madam,
preference share capital.
Madam, I would like to say that the company can be incorporated with the preference shares also, because at the end of the day,
Only, ma'am.
share capital, yes,
Only.
Ma'am, it is only in the Nidhi case we are restricting that preference shares should not be issued at the time of incorporation of the company. However, for
No. Ma'am, my question is different, ma'am.
I have understood your question, ma'am, whether the company can be incorporated without equity share capital, whether it can be only preference share capital. So
Yeah.
preference share, yes, ma'am, there is no restriction as per the law that we cannot incorporate the company only with the preference share capital. The only requirement is that the minimum number of share capital should be 2 in the case of private limited company, 7 in the case of public limited company, and so that is how it is.
Okay, ma'am. We are also not aware, so I asked this question. We'll also check, ma'am. Yeah. With this, we have no other question left. We have not taken questions related to LLP 24 form number and CHG 1, where there are other issues.
So there was a user who said that on mini dashboard. So I would urge those users to try, because see, there is a very large scale of migrated data which has come on the system. It takes some time for the indexing and other things to build up. So it may be a temporary issue also. And if you try again, you should be able to see SPICE Part B on your mini dashboard.
Yeah.
And even the other linked forms at times, because those linked forms are generated using a backend capability of the system. So if it takes time, just refresh and you will be able to see the other linked forms on your mini dashboard after filing of SPICE Part B. So I would urge people not to keep submitting, and if they are submitting a SPICE Part B and everything is filled till the end, just wait for some time for the feedback to come from the system. Because at times, because there is a heavy load right now and there is a lot of data which has been pumped in, it may at times take more time for the system to respond. So don't keep clicking submit again and again. Those system will not allow, but don't try that also. Wait for some time. There would be an input or a response coming on the screen of the system after a couple of minutes, etc. At times. Sarika ma'am, anything
yes,
else?
Sir. Yeah, no, all the questions have been taken care. With this, we thank the LTI team for taking up in detail these 456 forms that have been released. Then on behalf of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, I would thank all the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, CA Shripriya Kumar Madam, CA Preeti Savla and LTI members of this session. Sanjay Jain sir, would you like to say something?
Madam, we are endeavor to resolve all these issues faced by any of the states. Basically, SPICE Plus form is a very complex form, and LTI team did a very hard work to implement in V3. The technology in V2 was different, and as V3 in the technology is latest, and they are working on it. All the issues which were logged by the stakeholder will be resolved very soon. I think system is working on the first day, not in a bad position. It's working okay. And most of the forms in SPICE Plus, if we talk around 150 towards 150 forms, SPICE Part B have been filled. It shows that stakeholders have tried almost 50% of the scenario, and the SPICE Part B is working. It shows. So we are assuming that Part B or SPICE Plus will work smoothly. However, stakeholder may face some intermittent issue or chota mota issue. So our team will take care of it. Our help desk team is geared up, and with your cooperation, we will do it.
Thank you so much, sir, for enabling the resolution of issues. ICI has again set up a Google form. For lot 1, we have a different Google form link, and for any issues you find in lot 2, we have again set up a Google form. Please fill the form with MCA ticket number so that your issue can be taken up. With this, we thank all the participants to be part of this. Yes, Seema madam. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.